Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, Our Blessed and Beautiful Life. My name is Tina, and today I'm going to teach you a really easy recipe for making raw milk yogurt at home in your own kitchen. You guys may remember a few months back I did another video, go check it out, on how to make raw milk yogurt with an Instapot. But in that video I promised to come back at some point and do another video on how to make raw milk yogurt without an Instapot, because not everybody has an Instapot. And for years I made my yogurt just how we're gonna make it today, because I didn't get my Instapot until about a year ago. So it's not much harder to make your yogurt without an Instapot. The great thing about the Instapot is that you heat your milk, you do everything in that one pot, and then it has a yogurt setting on it. So you don't have to use another contraption to incubate your yogurt, which we're gonna talk about a little bit later on in the video when we get to that step. So before we start today, let's go over the ingredients that you're gonna need to make your raw milk yogurt without an Instapot. All right, you guys, so we've got, for our recipe today, we're gonna use a ½ gallon of raw milk. I've got this one marked yogurt so that the kids and Joe wouldn't drink it. I wanted to reserve this to make some yogurt this week. And as you can tell, this is fresh, sweet milk straight from the farm. You can see here that the cream line has separated. Super, super excited about that. Love me some raw milk. So ½ gallon of raw milk. You are gonna need a couple clean mason jars. These are quart-sized mason jars with lids, a funnel for easy pouring later on. And then for our culture, we're gonna use some plain yogurt from the grocery store. Now, the important thing with your yogurt from the grocery store, if you're using that for your culture, is to make sure that it has live cultures in it. Not all yogurts do. So you can easily turn to the back of the yogurt container and it will tell you if it contains live cultures or not. Like this one here, you can see that it says it's got live active cultures. Don't know if you guys can see that, but just turn over your yogurt container and it will tell you on the back if it does. Another thing to keep in mind with your yogurt, some people say, well, I don't want to have to buy something from the grocery store every time I want to make yogurt. Well, guess what? You don't have to. Because once you've created your first batch of homemade yogurt, for your next batch, you're just going to reserve some of that first batch and keep it aside in your fridge, and that's going to become your culture from there on out. I've got 6 tablespoons of this grocery store yogurt that we're going to be using for our ½ gallon of milk. You're gonna want a thermometer, any kind of kitchen thermometer, because we're gonna need to keep checking the temperature of our milk as we heat it, and then something to stir your yogurt, or your milk with, excuse me. And of course, you're gonna need some type of stock pot to heat your milk. The first step to making our yogurt, you guys, is we wanna shake up our milk really well, and we're gonna get this put into our stock pot for heating. We'll turn this on to a medium, maybe low to medium heat. When you're making your yogurt, it's best if you heat your milk steadily and slowly. You don't want to rapidly heat it. So we are going to heat this milk until we get it to 185 degrees. As your milk heats, you guys want to make sure to keep stirring this pretty much continuously once it starts getting up there, because you don't want it to scorch and get stuck to the bottom of the pan. So every few minutes I just come over and give it a little stir. All right, we've been cooking here for a few minutes. Let's check our temperature, see where we're at. We're at about 178 degrees. All right, so our milk has reached 185 degrees. So our next step is we're gonna cool the milk to 110 degrees. You wanna make sure that it cools to 110 before you add your culture, or else it will kill your culture. So to cool my milk, what I like to do so that it doesn't take so long, and plus I'm a little bit of an impatient person, I fill up a pan of cold water with ice, and I set my stock pot of milk in there to let it cool. Continue to stir it, continue to check the temperature, and then once it reaches that 110, then you can go ahead and add that culture. Now you can do this in your sink, however you want to do it. Clear the dishes out of the sink, put the stopper in, fill it up with ice cold water, and it will just help the process go along that much faster to cool it from that 185 to 110. But I usually use this turkey pan right here and it works just fine. All right, you guys, I have removed our milk from our cold water. We have reached 110 degrees. So now I'm gonna add our store-bought yogurt as our culture to the warm milk. And then we're gonna mix that around, give it a good stir. Just gonna gently make sure that that yogurt culture is added evenly throughout the milk. All right, so now that we've got our culture mixed in well with our milk, we're just gonna add our milk to our jars, and then we're going to incubate our yogurt. So go ahead and add your lids to your jars. Now, they don't need to be tight, just finger tight. This is what makes this a little bit different than using your Instapot. So normally, you would have just left your milk in your Instapot and you would have hit that yogurt setting and incubated that yogurt right inside of your Instapot. But for those of you that don't have an Instapot, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna add your milk to your mason jars and you're gonna incubate it. And when I say incubate it, that just means we're gonna keep it at a nice, even warm temperature for a certain amount of time, and that's gonna help our milk turn to the curd that we need for yogurt. Now, people do this in many different ways, and you can just YouTube and you'll see all the hundreds of ways to incubate your yogurt. People use a crock pot and keep their milk in the crock pot on the warm setting. You can leave the oven light on in your oven and wrap your jars with the towel to keep that warmth in there and incubate your milk that way. Some people even use ice chests, you guys. There's lots of creative ways that you can do this. It does not have to be hard. You can get an ice chest and fill it with warm water, put your jars in there, close the lid, and that ice chest is gonna keep that warm temperature that you need to incubate your milk. What I like to do is use my dehydrator. I have an Excalibur dehydrator that I have, shared videos with you guys. I love to dehydrate meals, dehydrate all kinds of foods. So it has a yogurt setting on it. So if you have a dehydrator that has a yogurt setting on it, then even if it doesn't have a yogurt setting, if you've got a dehydrator where you can keep it at a steady temperature, not too hot, then you can create your yogurt right there inside of your dehydrator. So let's go ahead and get these put in the dehydrator, and just a tip on how long you want to incubate this for. So about 4 hours is what you need. So check on your yogurt in about 4 hours, and I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like once the curd has formed, and that's how you're gonna know if it's done or if it's not. There's actually a visual difference. You're no longer gonna see a liquid milk, it's gonna be yogurt. It's gonna be thick and it's gonna separate from the sides of the jar, and there's gonna be no question as to whether your yogurt's done. So as a rule of thumb, I say at least 4 hours. Start checking the texture of it at 4 hours. Sometimes you might need longer depending on the temperature of wherever you've decided to incubate it, and that's okay. Now, you can continue to incubate your yogurt longer even after the curd has set if you like your yogurt to be really tart. Some people like that, pucker power, and that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with incubating your yogurt longer, so it's just a matter of personal preference and what you and your family like. I typically do my yogurt for about 6 to 8 hours, and we tend to like the taste of it and the texture at that point. All right, you guys, so my Excalibur dehydrator is rather large, as most dehydrators are. So I keep it in the closet in the schoolroom, and whenever I need to dehydrate something, I just set it here on the school table so that it's out of the way. So I've got my 2 mason jars in my dehydrator, and I'm going to incubate them for 6 to 8 hours on the yogurt setting. So as you can see, this is the Excalibur food dehydrator, and it does have a yogurt setting. So it's gonna keep the milk at a consistent 115 degrees. And we wanna do this for about 6 to 8 hours. I'm gonna go ahead and set it to 8 and I'll come and check on it. I'm gonna adjust my temperature to the 115 degrees. And they'll just stay tucked away in there, nice and warm. And the next time we come back, we should have yogurt. Just a quick tip for you guys, when you're making your homemade yogurt, don't get too particular about your measurements. If you've got a little more than 6 tablespoons of your yogurt culture or a little less, a little bit more than a half a gallon, a little less, things like that, you don't need to really worry about that. It's not gonna affect your yogurt. It's still gonna make yogurt just fine. And the other thing too, if you accidentally heat your milk a little bit more than the 185 degrees, or you accidentally let it drop a little bit below that 110 before you add your culture, don't fret, your yogurt is gonna turn out fine. So just roll with it and make your yogurt. So it's been about 4 hours and I'm gonna open up the dehydrator and show you guys what the yogurt looks like. I tend to incubate mine for a little bit longer like I told you guys earlier, so I'm gonna go ahead and let this set for probably another 2 hours, just to let it get a little bit more tangy and a little bit more thicker. But let me show you what this looks like now. All right, so as you guys can see, this is all done. Our curd has set. You see how it's no longer liquid? It's yogurt. It's separating from the jar. So now that our yogurt's done, what I do is I set my jars in the refrigerator immediately after they're done incubating, and that stops the incubation process. And as you set them in the fridge, they will thicken a little bit more, and you will notice that the whey from the milk will separate from the yogurt. So you know when you get yogurt from the store, there's always that liquid on the top that you've got to mix into the yogurt. That's the whey separating from the yogurt. So you can drain this whey off and to help make your yogurt thicker, or you can just mix it into your yogurt, whichever you prefer. But just for the sake of the video, I wanted to scoop some of this out to show you guys the texture of our yogurt. You see that? We have a beautiful, yummy, delicious homemade yogurt, and it will continue to thicken in the refrigerator. So at this point in the process, you guys, you can add anything that you would like to your yogurt. You can add any kind of sweetener, honey. Sometimes I put stevia in there. You can add fruit to your yogurt, whatever it is that your family likes. Just a little tip, when you are gonna add fruit or sweeteners to it, I like to put everything in the blender. I know it sounds counterproductive, but it just helps to make everything blend smoothly, and then your end product is this velvety, smooth yogurt that's completely blended. So if I'm gonna do sweeteners, sometimes I like to add vanilla extract to my yogurt. I put everything in the blender with the yogurt, blend it up really good, and then I fill up my jars. You can leave them in big mason jars if you want, or you can do the little tiny half-pint mason jars for like serving sizes. Pour the yogurt in there and put it in the refrigerator, and it will solidify once again and get thicker, and then you're just left with this amazing product. So this was a quick, simple recipe for you guys on how to make homemade raw milk yogurt without an Instapot. I hope that this was helpful. If you guys like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell so you can be notified every time I post a new video. All right, you guys, leave some comments for me and let me know how your yogurt turned out if you followed this recipe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.